Welcome to the Omnibus Twins gaming channel. Today we're going to be reviewing Timeline. Alright guys, so this is going to be a nice picture of each one of the tins here. You have diversity, which is pretty much the basic set here. And it's going to have, you know, it's got your...
inventions.
Okay, so it's going to have your inventions, history, you know, geography, music, blah, 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 blah. It's going to have everything in it. Right here, though, this is going to be the one we're taking a look at today. This is music and cinema. So you can see it's got a completely different cover. And we're going to go ahead and just pop that open. Inside of the box there. So the rulebook rests on top, and then it's got these wonderful little indented, this is all felt right here. And the cards fit absolutely perfect inside there. It's a little dark, you can't quite see, but they fit amazingly well. Just a little bit of wiggle room. It's fantastic. Alright, so to start a game, you're going to deal out 4 cards to each character, each person playing with you. I suppose they could be characters depending on the crowd. Alright, so the cards are going to look like this. You are going to lay them in front of each person, this side up. They do not actually have a back. This is the back, and it's going to be different for each one. So here we have What a Wonderful World, and here we have the thing. And when they play them, they are going to flip them over so that you can see the actual date on them. So 1967 on What a Wonderful World. But you are going to lay them in front of you with the date side down. You are not allowed to look at the date.
Now, one thing to watch out for is on these cards, they are actually going to give you the name of the movie or song. Also, really tiny print here you see in the very bottom corner there tells you who wrote it or who directed it. You may need a magnifying glass. It's a little small.
Alright, whoop, focus. Alright, there we go. So each person gets 4 cards in front of them. 3 and 4. And then the rest of the deck, we're going to open this up here. The rest of the deck is placed in the middle of the table. And you're going to take the top card and just turn it over so the date's side up. So that's going to be your starting card. So this is The Exorcist, made in 1973. Alright, so then turn by turn, you're each going to take and pick a card, and you're going to decide when that was made, and you're going to lay it. So say, What a Wonderful World, I think it was made before that. So, 1967. If you are right, you leave it right there, and then it's the next person's turn. But if I say played it immediately after I turned it over and found out I was wrong, I would discard this card back into the tin, take another card, and lay it down date side down in front of me. And then it would carry on with the rest of the game. So it's a really simple, really fast-paced game.
It gets a little more complicated once you've gotten a few extra cards out, because then you have to place them before or after or in between each card.
Essentially, you're making one giant timeline. So it's a really easy thing to do. You know, you take a card, you decide where you want it to go, and you turn it over. And see, I was wrong there, that goes away, you take another card. It's very fast. Everybody can do it. It's honestly, what's the age grade on this one? A 2 to 8, 2 to 8 players and 8 and up. So yeah, honestly, I think you could probably even go a little younger than that, depending on how well versed your child is in the subject. So yeah.
You've got this really cool art that does a good job of showing off the topic it's talking about. So here's Muse's Origin of Symmetry. And it does like an album cover for them. But then you've got the original Godzilla over here, and it does this really cool black and white charcoal.
Thriller by Michael Jackson. Very cool picture there.
You've got Charlie Chaplin's Great Dictator here, really cartoony. Or you have the Valkyrie here that's just got this epic oil painting kind of style to it.
Even One More Time by Daft Punk here.
So overall, pretty simple game here. Really cool art. Now let's go back to the table and see what we have to say about it.
All right, so timeline. Timeline as done by, how do you pronounce that, Zach? Asmodee?
Oh, this is Asmodee Games.
Asmodee, okay. So this is a really fun, really simple game. Essentially what you're doing is each player will get a handful of cards, they'll have them on the table in front of them, and you'll take turns trying to decide which one takes place when in a timeline. You're forming a timeline from a group of cards. So let's see.
What about production quality?
Production quality. Okay, production quality. I am very impressed. So the cards are going to come in this felt-lined tin box. Really nice. The cards fit just about perfectly. The only time I've ever had the cards fall out is just a few minutes ago when I shook the box rather violently. So they're really cool. Each one of the different styles is going to have a different picture on the front. So this one here is diversity. It's going to have like pretty much every subject you can imagine. And this one here is music and cinema. So, you know, different picture for each one.
Now, one thing to say about the production on these is they're tins and they're odd size. So they're going to be a pain to stack on your shelf, but they stack with one another really well because they have these cupped bottoms. It's you know, just something to think about if you have a lot of games already.
Yeah. As far as the quality on the cards goes, so they are a strange size. You're probably not going to be able to cover them at all, but they are silk finished.
Yeah.
They're really nice. The corners are very well rounded. And honestly, there's not going to be too much throwing and jumbling together and tossing around of the cards. It's a pretty simple game that's not going to be necessary in.
Yeah. It's also a fairly thin stock, but at the same time it rebounds extremely well, so I wouldn't worry about these cards getting folded up much.
It's a very well made game. The artwork is fantastic. I love them. And for such tiny pictures, they do a wonderful job. Depending on the subject of the picture, the art style is going to change a little bit. So I've got first appearance of a superhero and the Iliad and the Odyssey right here, and they're two completely different art styles, but they mesh really well together.
Yeah, the art has a really interesting personality to it that kind of brings out the humor in each of the subjects.
Alright, so as far as production quality goes, this is going to be, I'd say a high 4s, low 5s for me.
I would absolutely put this in 5s.
5s, alright.
Yeah. The only thing I would have changed is the sizing of the cards. Outside of that, I can't imagine them making this game any better than it is.
Okay.
Now, like, ease of play.
Ease of play. Okay, so the rule books here. The rule books are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 pages long. Really nice little durable, portable little things, but they just over-explain things so much. I mean, the game is literally, you put one card down and then you take turns playing cards. There's nothing to explain, but they take and they go turn by turn through the rule book. This person is going to do exactly the same thing as the last person. I don't know why they have to restate it every single time. But that's literally 4 pages of this are just people doing the exact same thing over and over and over again.
This is an extremely light game. You
Very
can play
light.
this with anybody, and
it can. The time on the box says 15 minutes. The first time we played it, it took like 2.
Yeah,
It was super fast. So I think depending on who you're playing with, it could take longer, it could take shorter.
It's going to be like 5 minutes a person, is really what it's going to come down
yes.
to. Yeah, it's a super light game. It plays really quickly. The rules kind of overcomplicate things. I can't imagine them simplifying this too much more, so dropping in on this one, I put it at like a 5 for ease of play.
Absolutely a 5. Yeah, it took me about 30 seconds to figure out what was going on, even though the rulebook was overly complicated.
Yeah, so, I mean, replay value on this guy, personally, I find the replay value to be kind of based in how many of those packs that you're going to put together.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see if you only had one and you played it over and over and over again, you're going to remember what the dates are on some of these, and you're going to just immediately know where to play something. If you got more than one, you can mix them together or you can play them separately. So you could start by playing them separately and then mix them together later on, and that could add a little bit of variety and longevity to the game, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then how many different packs are there? There's 4 or 5 different expansions.
Yeah,
for
there's
this.
quite a few, and I think they're still in production, if I remember right.
An impressive amount of game that you can have.
And they're really inexpensive.
They're about $15.
Yeah,
$15.
mixing a bunch of them together, you can get 4 of these guys and not come to the price point on another game. So
it's pretty good. I would say
I can't give it a 5
can't give it
because
5
you do
because
have to add more to it.
You do.
But
you can't go lower than a 4 because it's so much fun.
Yeah, with how easy it is to play and just how simple it is to mix them all together, this is a really good game.
It's a very, very good game.
So, yeah,
I would put it low 5s.
Yeah,
I really would. I can't think of many ways to make this better. I mean, with a game like this, you can't expect it to.
Yeah, when I say it's a light game, I mean it's a really
it's a very,
light
very
game.
light game.
But, you know, this is absolutely... If you're playing Arkham Horror and you have that 40-minute setup, you can knock out a few games of this while the game master is putting everything together. So, man, it's an excellent game. I have to rate it low 5s.
Low 5s. All right, perfect.
So, if you guys have any questions about this game, or if you have any other games you're curious about, just stick them down in the comments and we'll come back to you.
All right, we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
All of the cats. All of the cats.
But they stayed out of the way.
Yes, they did.